I just say it how it is. And so that reputation is going to stay intact today. 5 years ago, I was diagnosed with cancer. It was this really surreal kind of personal moment where there had been biopsies done, and I went into the doctor's office, and the doctor didn't even bother to turn around. He's looking at his screen. I'm sitting at his desk. He doesn't even turn around and look me in the eye. He just says, "Yup, you have cancer." And I thought, wow, really? I knew it was a possibility, but you're hoping for the best, and all these things rush through your mind. And for me, it started a clock. Some of you probably even heard me talk about that. And it started to really tick hard. Anybody have an experience like this where you just all of a sudden hear your life ticking hard? And so what's happened to me because of that experience is I've become incredibly jealous of my time. I'm really careful with who I let have any of it. Does that make sense to you? So the filter is really, really thick for me because I tend to measure things in a certain way. And I'm going to try to give you a picture of that from my mind. So here's your 90-year life in months. Okay, so each row represents 3 years. And this is kind of looking back on how I've spent my life. My early years, born in '59, the woman who did that is on the end of that row right there. There's my mother. And, early years, there's not a lot of lessons there. I just pretty much wasted that. It was rock and roll and weed. That's pretty much all I remember about that part of it. I was a brick mason for a couple of years. Decided that wasn't a good idea. Went to college. Decided that wasn't a very good idea. I went to a career day. I'm sitting there, and by then I had started a suntan salon there right up here by the college, and I'd made about $100,000 that year with that suntan salon. And I'm sitting in this career day, and the person says, well, you get this education, you get a master's degree, you do a couple of years of internship, and you can probably make $35,000, $40,000 a year. And I was done. That was it for me for college. I just thought, really? People do that? They sell their life for that much money? I'm going to work for myself. So I sold the suntan salon, and that was when I got into Subway. And I think a lot of you are familiar with that part of my story. We were in Subway. We had 9 Subway sandwich franchises from Logan, Utah to Spanish Fork, Utah. The best part of that was selling them. That really was the lesson. The lesson from the Subways was teenage employees are not a good idea. That was the lesson from that misspent nearly decade, right? But during the Subway years, before we got out of that, we were introduced to Nu Skin. And I'm going to talk about that as I go along. We're 27 years in Nu Skin this fall. So it's really, if you look at this and can take some perspective, we've done this more than any other part of my life. Right? This is who I am. Right? So ultimately, you spend your life and you got to really kind of think about what you're going to spend it on and what's going to happen to you and what you will become because of the things that you spend your time on, right? It's probably the first time I've ever been emotional on this stage. Did you catch the freedom piece? I kind of clicked through that, right? So there's when we joined Nu Skin, in perspective to that life. I can honestly tell you that every day since I heard the word Nu Skin, I have been grateful. Really. every single day. I wake up grateful for Nu Skin, for that company and the vehicle that it's been for our lives. Okay? I promised myself I wouldn't do that. All right. During that, I met Jeff Mack, who's really become my closest friend. Jeff has had to put up with me through some of this story, right? I had a really interesting experience yesterday. I had come down here to a rehearsal, and I didn't want to go do anything necessarily, and so I was at my house doing some work, and I was waiting for a UPS shipment. And we have a little dog. This little dog is the best doorbell ever. If anybody comes anywhere on our street, this little dog goes crazy. So the dog's going crazy, and I'm like, all right, my UPS shipment's here. I'm going to go upstairs and get it. And I open the door, and standing at my door before he even rang the doorbell was my original sponsor in Nu Skin. Yesterday. True story. He was there to recruit me into a new MLM. Hand to God. Right? So I sat there and I listened, and I've got him in my office, and I'm listening to this guy, and this thing breaks every rule. 27 years of watching network marketing companies come and go, I've gotten to the point where I don't even bother to learn their names. I don't even learn the other businesses' names because I know they're gone before I can learn their name, right? So why waste the energy? So I'm sitting there listening to this, and my hamster's running on the wheel, right? My hamster runs at about 4 words a minute. I'm trying to figure out how to get out of this situation. And so finally I just launch into the counter spiel, right? Just right into it. Age like me, Brazil, India, China, I'm just like hammering. And finally he leaves. It happened yesterday. True story, right? So I thought about that on the backdrop of this deal. So back to the original slide that's in the opportunity presentation. It's not going to be what you think. It's not going to be 4 straight years. When we talk about the 4-year plan versus the 40-year plan, that's not the way it's going to go. It's just not. Okay? There's going to be times when you're all in. And what I mean by all in is it envelops your life. It's all Nu Skin. My wife and I used to go out on Fridays when we were all in, and we would literally say, who can we go out with that's in our downline? Because we don't want to be with civilians. That's true, right? Because we didn't want to be with people that didn't think like we did. We wanted to be with people who had similar goals and similar aspirations. Now that's not going to last forever, right? Something's going to break the spell. I'll talk about that in a minute. These kind of blue areas are areas where we were all in. And the part that I want you to coordinate is how we raced through the pins when we were all in. Right? How we raced through the foundational stage. So when we came in, we were so excited. We were all in for, a year. It was all Nu Skin every day. Yeah, we had to run our business, and yeah, you got to do your family and all that stuff, but everything we could think of, we eliminated so we had time to build our organization. And that's what we did, right? We tried to open a bunch of different markets. We worked in Canada, we worked in Hong Kong, we worked in Taiwan. Nothing really worked out for us, but we learned, right? And then when we finally got to Southeast Asia, we knew what we were doing. Now, you got to put all this into perspective. These aren't spots on a slide. These are years of my life. Years, right? We started in 1990. And by 97, 95, 97, we were team elites. You know, 5 to 7 years, right in there. Right? There's big pieces of time where you're trying to learn this. It's not just going to happen overnight. Right? So by the time we get to Thailand, we're pretty seasoned and we are all in. I mean, I had it all in. By then we'd sold Subway. By then the only way, we were making enough new skin money to kind of live, but we didn't have enough to invest in opening a new market. We had to sell our life insurance. We had to borrow money, which we did. We were all in. It was all of it. Now, I'm not necessarily advocating that. What I'm advocating is that mentally you do it, with your energy. Do you understand? With your heart. Right? So, things happened in that market. We thought we were done. Honestly, the first check from Thailand was unbelievable. We thought we had made it. Little did I know that whole Asia thing was going to crash. And we had to go back in and rebuild that whole thing. The whole thing, we went from about 300 executives in our downline to 30. And we had to go back in and completely redo that, right? And we had to be all in to do that. We had to believe that it was going to work. Are you listening to my words? Do you understand? Okay? So, now the correlation. We were rubies by September of 90. We signed up in August of 90. We were emeralds by September of 90. We were diamonds by November of 90. By January of 91, we were rubies. The correlation there was that was about the time we sold our Subway franchises. When we went full-time, our business went backwards. There's a lot of truth to the less you know, the more you make. That was our knowing a lot phase. It really was. We really, we'd go in with all the information and people just didn't respond. It just was not duplicatable. Right? So we were Blue Diamonds by April of 91, qualified to be Team Elites in 95 and 96, and then we re-qualified to be Team Elites again in 2001. Okay, years of our lives, right? 96 Team Elite, our business backed up. We had to go back in and build back to Team Elite. And we've qualified every year since then, 17 straight years. And actually, we're already qualified for Barcelona. So, June would have got that done in 6 months, right? So there you go. We became $1 Million Circle members in July of 1997, $5 million in October of 2005. That's 5 years, right, for $4 million. $10 Million Circle members in October of 2000 and what is that? 10, so 5 years later. And we'll be at 20 million next June, according to the new genealogy tool. So, assuming there's not an LTO in there somewhere, I'll shorten that by a month or so. Okay, so bigger to me are these three, and to me these were just the most impactful moments of our business. Our first $10 million earner. I got to stand on the stage. I was at that event. I got to be with the company and hand that pin to those people, okay, who I love and who I know, and I know what they sacrificed, and I know how hard they worked, right? And I saw how it changed their world, changed their lives, their children's lives, their parents' lives. It's a remarkable thing to experience. I highly recommend it, right? Okay, we have now 3 of those in our group, which has just, been unbelievable. Okay, so this you can pick up on aisle 4, right? This is actually a real product. This is not made up. This is a colon cleansing product. I'm not making it up. Okay? And that's pretty much as far as you can get with instant success with this business. So, right? It's going to work out. So, consistent or focused. You start looking at that and you start putting it into years and months. And there's been a lot of times where we were doing what we wanted to do. You know, I play a lot of golf. I'm not going to make any kind of excuses for it. I'll probably golf today. You know, if I can figure out how to get out of here, sneak out, I'm an addict, it's going to happen, right? That's just the way it is. It's one of the reasons I got in this business, and I'm just not going to excuse myself because that's what I do, and that's why I'm here, right? So consistent or focused, the answer to that question, people are saying, well, can I do this consistently or do I have to do it focused? The answer is yes. You can. That's the beauty of the vehicle. You know, if you can't go all in, if you can't be totally focused, well, you can sponsor somebody who is. Right? If you're not a very good communicator or a very good people person or you're an introvert, you can sponsor somebody who isn't or is. Right? If you're a little young, you can sponsor somebody a little older. If you don't have any credibility, you can make up all those weaknesses with your organization. That's the beauty of the vehicle. Okay? Wide or deep? I get this question a lot. And the answer is yes. Yeah. Yeah, wide or deep, I don't care, you know. I mean, show me a new guy and I'll sponsor him. Right? A new girl, I don't care. Right? You show me somebody with a heartbeat, $1,000, and they're in. I don't know what's in their heart. I'm going to let them sort that out. I'm not going to worry about what they're going to do or what they're not going to do. I'll let them worry about that. They don't work for me. They're independent contractors. It's their business. They'll figure it out. They'll play where they want. Okay? I'd rather be deep. I'd rather be deep. Okay? Product or opportunity? I get this question a lot too. Do I start with the product or do I start with the opportunity? Yes. The answer is yes. And the opportunity is a product. Just like Subway sandwich. What do they sell? They sell restaurants. That's what they sell. They don't sell sandwiches. You got that all messed up. Right? So, you know, let's talk about the business for a second. As a product. Okay? I love the meat. Don't get me wrong. I love the scanner. I love all of our products. But they're narrow. Some people are going to love the meat. Some people are going to love the scanner. Some people are going to love LifePack. Those are fairly narrow aisles. But I haven't met anybody who doesn't need to make more money. Do you understand? What is the statistic now that the 60-somewhat% of Americans can't come up with $400 in cash without borrowing for an emergency? Well, that is a broad market. That is a big market. Big market. So I only have to learn one product to talk about, and I can go, and just about 8 out of 10 people are going to be looking for what I have. Okay, Forbes magazine, almost 80 million people going to start a business over the next 5 years. This article is about 2 months old. Okay, that is a big, broad market. Perfect product. No set schedule. No risk. No employees, best part, right? No bookkeeping. No boss. No accounts receivable. How many of you know people who have businesses in today's environment? I do. The bigger the company, the less likely they are to pay. That's a fact. Okay? Try to get paid. It's one thing to go find business, but if you've got to take a receivable, try to get paid on that receivable. It's dang near impossible. Okay? We don't ever have any of that. No receivables, right? They pay us, it's all cash, we're not having to lay it out. Okay? It pays you more than you're worth. I am the personification of that attribute, right? They pay me way more than I'm worth. And recurring income. It is literally a perfect business, right? Now there's a bunch more attributes I could put on this slide, but how do you beat it? You really can't beat it, right? Okay, so how do you do this thing? First thing you got to do, and this is a common theme both yesterday and today, you got to figure out what you want. People, you got to hear my words on this. People get what they want. Do you get that? People get what they want. They do. Most people just don't know what they want. So they kind of bump along and let other people decide what other people want for them. So, these are some of the things that we've gotten. World travel, we've been all over the world. It's been so much fun. Dream car, dream house, children's education. I hate this next one, children's inheritance. They're not getting a dime. I'm going to spend it all. More friends, help others, self-development, early retirement, more free time, our own business, financial freedom, increased income. Those are good categories for you to think about to try to get this in your head, figure out what it is you want. And really be bold with it. Be brave enough to put some things on paper that you actually want or don't want. Okay? In my case, some of that was even more motivating. Some of the things I didn't want worse than I wanted the other stuff. Does that make sense? I didn't want a boss. I just didn't want a boss. I didn't want accounts payable or accounts receivable. I just didn't want them. I knew I didn't want teenage employees. That's just really ugly. I didn't want debt. We had a lot of debt on those 9 stores. And it was stressful, right? Debt is really stressful. Anti-freedom. Employees that's on there twice, I must really hate them. And therein lies the caution at the bottom of this slide. Avoid management. Recruit. There is no management function in this business. The term leadership actually kind of bothers me because it infers somehow that somebody's going to lead you where you want to go. Well, that is not going to be the case. You work for yourself. You can be inspired, encouraged, right? Even taught, mentored. But at the end of the day, you'll do it or you won't. Got it? So avoid management as best you can. Pick a window. One 90-day blitz can change your life. Okay, whether it's this window or a window in the future, it took us a few windows. But pick a window and go all in. Really, emotionally, spiritually, physically. Do it with all your heart, right? And it'll change your life. Total focus. Now, something's going to break that spell. That's the nature of life. But when you're in that mode, when you're in that focus, try to do everything you can do to protect it. Eventually something will happen, right? There'll be some kind of life situation, whatever that looks like. And it'll break that, and you'll have to recreate that focus on. Okay? I tend to think about this a lot. That clock is tick, tick, ticking. I only have 700 triathlons left in my life. Right? These are Team Elite triathlons. That'd be 18 holes of golf, a massage, and a big fat steak. Right? That's really optimistic. So keep it simple. That was supposed to be a humorous interrupt after a really intense slide, right? So write that stuff down. So we're going to figure out what we want. We're going to write that stuff down. Okay, $20 million circle member. Those of you who've been around me at events, you'll notice I never wear a pin. It's because I wrote it down. When I started, I wrote down, I will be the top level of this company. I didn't even know what it was, but that's in my original written goals. And I won't wear a pin until I have that pin, which is right now a $20 million pin, and I keep living in fear that they're going to come out with the $50 million pin before I get that stupid pin. So, second home in the sun. This is a really big hot button for me. Still working on that one. Have a home. It's not really in the sun. Kind of screwed that thing up. We took, somebody said something about multiple high-end, golf clubs. I remember it's some really cool golf clubs. Where Michael Jordan, he's got a home here, and it's in Park City. It's called Glen Wild, and it's a really neat place. And then in Scottsdale, I'm at Whisper Rock. If you're a golfer, you might recognize that. If you remember Greg Ogilvy winning the U.S. Open, they asked him, they said, geez, you win the U.S. Open, but you can't win your club championship? And he says, yeah, the field's tougher. At our club, right? So financial freedom, these were all things that were on our list. One more warning, avoid the Messiah complex. You're not going to save anybody with this business. If they need saving, they're going to need to do it themselves, right? Work on it every day. You have plenty of time to do this. There it is, 168 hours in a week. Okay, 56 hours sleeping. You can certainly trim some of that. 42 hours eating and commuting. 40 hours working, 30 hours is enough to pursue your dream. Okay, so when I talk all focus, I understand there's limitations, but it's got to be, with your soul. Over prospect, under manage. Drop TV, drop news, especially in an election cycle. Stuff's not going to get you to freedom. Okay? These Muppets are not going to feed you. They're not. They're not going to pay your mortgage. Do you understand? So, try to avoid that stuff. Drop social media cruising. Big concern for me. A lot of stuff going on in social media with building the business. Well, it's really easy to flit away a lot of time just kind of doing nothing. That's what I mean by social media cruising. Drop distractions, whatever they are. Whatever that comes, whatever flavor it is for you. Whether it's sports or whatever. Okay, recruit, recruit, recruit. That's what you should be doing. Okay? Now, actions you should take, and I'm down to 2 slides here and I'm pretty much out of time. Daily prospecting, list building, ask the golden question, who do you know that needs more income, likes to take care of themselves, etc. Okay, sift, don't sell. Bring people to events, because events are where leaders are born and new skin gets into people's hearts. Right? You'll hear that over and over again. And MLM means must love meetings. That's what it means. It doesn't mean multi-level marketing. It means must love meetings, right? So just feel good about this environment. My life, again, is tick, tick, ticking, right? So I'm thinking about it now in grandkid time. I've got a couple grandkids. Do you know that 97% of your face time with your grandkids is gone by the time they're 18 years old? If they go off to college, you don't see them anymore. So enjoy every minute, right? You've got to be in some kind of vehicle that creates freedom so that you can enjoy every minute. And there's never enough time. When I was doing this presentation, I thought, how many times am I going to hear that? There's never enough time. There's never enough time. I hear it in my own head. Tick, tick, tick. It's the common part of being a people, right? So there it is. I think this is true from my story. Do you agree? Those little blue round spots, those months where we were all in, they barely add up to 4 years. Isn't that interesting? It's pretty interesting, right? So I think that's the real 4-year plan. I think that's the way it's going to go for you. So whatever it is that you've got in your mind is going to control your mind. So decide what you want, write that stuff down, and work on it every single day. And I appreciate the time. Thanks a lot.